take your seat.
First we'll pay homage to the Triple Gem. Arahang Sama Sambuddho Bhagavan Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivadi Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammam Supatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Sangham Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Tassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti Pisa Bhagavarahang Samma Sambuddha Vecacharana Sugato Lokavido Anuttaro Purisadhamma Sarathi Sattha Deva Manusanang Buddho Bhagavati Namo Tassa Samma Sambuddhassa Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Sanditthiko Akaliko Yehipasiko Opanaiko Panchatang Vedidabbo Vinyo Hiti Namo Nikasa Dhammasa Supatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Ujjupatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Nyāyapatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Samicipatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Yadidang Chattari Purisa Yogani Attha Purisa Puggala Esa Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Ahuneyo Pahuneyo Dakhineyo Anjali Karaniyo Anutarang Punyaketa Lokasati Namo Tassa Attha Ariya Puggala Mahasanghasa Vipatti Pativahaya Sabba Sampatti Siddhya Sabba Dukkhang Vinasaya Sabba Rogang Vinasaya Bhave Deghayukadayakang Sabba Lokang Hitathaya परित्तं तं वनामहे समन्ताचक्रवालेषु अत्रागच्छन्तु देवता सद्धम्मं मुनिराजस्य सुनन्तु धम्मसवनकालोऽयं वदन्ता धम्मसवनकालोऽयं वदन्ता धम्मसवनकालोऽयं वदन्ता परेतसवनकालोऽयं वदन्ता नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्स करणीयमाथ कुशलेन यान्तां सन्ता पदं अभिसमेच्छ सको जोषासो जोषासो अचोषसमुदो अनतिमानि सन्तो सकोषासो भरोषायापगे चोषसल्लहुकभूते सन्तीन्द्रियो च निपकोषायापगाभो कुलेषु अननुगेधो न चाखुदं समाचरे किञ्चेन विन्यो परेयुपवदेयुं सुखिनो वाखेमिनो हन्तु सब्बे सत्ता भवन्तु सुखितात्था ये केचिपानभूताति तसावाथावरावयनवशेषा दीर्घावाये महान्ताव मध्यमारस्कानुकथोला दीर्घावायेव अतिष्ठा ये च दूरे वसन्ति अविदूरे भूतावा सम्भवे सीमा सबे भवन्तु सुखितात्था न परो परं निकुब्बेथा न्याथिमन्येथ कात्थचिनं कञ्चे व्यारोसनापटिघसन्य नन्यमन्यास दुःखमिच्छय्या माता यथा नियां पुत्त आयुषायेकपुत्तमनुराख्ये एवंपि सब्बभूतेषु मानसं भावयेयपरिमाणं मेत्ताञ्च सब्बलोकस्मि मानसं भावयेयपरिमाणं ऊर्ध्वं अधोचतिर्यं च असंवादं अभेरं असपतं तीर्थं चरन्निसिन्नो वा सयानो वा यावतः विगतमेधो एतां सतिं अधिष्ठेय ब्राह्ममेतां विहारं इदमाहो दिष्ठिं चानुपगम्यशीलावा दर्शनेन सम्पन्नो कामेषु विनयागेन न हि जातो गभसय्यां पुनरेते दुःखपता च निर्दुःख भयापता च निर्भया शोकापता च निःशोक हन्तु सब्बे पिपानिनो etena sacca vajjena sotite pada etena jena sabadukha vinasato etena sacca vajjena sababhaya vinasato etena vinasato etena sacca vajjena hotu te mangalam etena cena patu te ratanatayang sabbitiyo vivaccanto sabbarogo vinasato mate bhavatu antarayo sukhe deghayuko bhava bhavatu sabba mangala rakhantu sabba devata sabba buddhanubhavena sada sutti bhavantu te bhavatu rakhantu sabba devata sabba dhammanubhavena sada sutti bhavantu te bhavatu sabba mangalang kantu sabba devata sabba sanghanubhavena sada sutti bhavantu te sadhu sadhu sadhu.
Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dhammaya, Namo Sanghaya. Most respected Bhante Ajahn Kevali and respected Venerable Suvatananda Bhante and other Bhikshu Sam, respected Bhante Jyoti Pada Bhante, Jyoti Dhammo Bhante, other Bhikshu Sam and Samneras and dear Upasikas and Upasakas. So, very good evening to everyone and welcome to this evening program. Today it's a very special day for us because we have among us Most Venerable Ajahn Kevali from Thailand. Bhante is the abbot of Wat Nanachat International Buddhist International Forest Vihara. It is founded by Most Venerable Ajahn Chah. Most of you might have heard of Ajahn Chah. He's a very popular forest meditation master in Thailand as well as internationally, and it's a very popular tradition. And Bhante is the abbot of that Vihara. But Bhante is originally from Germany. Okay, so but now Bhante can speak Thai as well, and of course English. So without much ado, I'd like to request Bhante to share some Dhamma and meditation as well, and blessing for all the upasakas, upasikas. And it's a very rare occasion, and we are very grateful for Bhante to be here. It's a very tight schedule, Bhante. It's very difficult to find time, but Bhante has come all the way to Hyderabad. So now I hand over to Bhante. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
This is for online, Bhante.
Okay.
This is for offline.
Namo tassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. Ito parang sakachang dhammo sotapoti. I'd like to ask permission from Venerable Sangha and Venerable Buddha Pala Thero and all the other members of the Sangha gathered here, and like to say good evening in the Dhamma, extend all my good wishes and my blessings to all of you gathered here in the Mahabodhi Society Vihara in Hyderabad. And I feel very happy that I was able to visit, and thank all the Sangha and the Dayikas that made it possible that I could come here. It is very nice to experience a monastery in India. Of course, it is always nice to experience a monastery as a monk, because we feel at home, we feel a sense of community and a sense of family, almost. Families, brothers in Dhamma Vinaya. And this is very uplifting, and seeing that this monastery, under the guidance of Venerable Buddha Pala, has got many young people leaving the world and becoming samaneras and studying and practicing the Buddha Dhamma is very uplifting. Also to see all of you tonight, the upasikas and upasakas that have gathered out of the keenness on the Dhamma, out of the interest and out of the wish to improve your life and be supported in the difficult practice of doing things rightly, honestly, and correctly in this life, and finding peace with all the things that you do. So this is not uncommon. So many of us these days are stuck in difficult situations, and modern way of life not always has an answer to it. And we are very fortunate to live in India, where there's an ancient way of life that does have the answers to it. And I was not so fortunate to be born in India. I was born in a country that is fairly secular, in Germany. And at least I had access to the Buddha Dhamma through a good fortune that my parents, one time in my life as a schoolboy, between 4th and 5th grade, we were moving to Thailand, and this was my first contact with Buddhism. And like so many people from Europe, America, Australia, when they come to Asia, they're fascinated by the beautiful temples, the artwork, and also a little bit already by the lifestyle of people that practice the Dhamma. And as a small boy, I was fascinated on the external level. I found it very special to have lived in a country like Thailand in Asia. And when I went back to school later in Germany, I always had an eye on this country that I lived in, and was interested a bit of pride as well, that I have been in Thailand. And once in school then, we had the topic of Buddhism, and I volunteered to present it, even though I didn't know anything about Buddhism, but I took the chance through the connection. And I asked my father to find some slides, the old slides where you need a projector, and we had some images of temples, and I don't know what I told my classmates, but it helped me to feel more interest in this little bit of contact to a teaching that seemed to be very, very profound, and also not existing in my home country, very special. So for us coming from Europe, America, Australia, it's very special to find these roots of the Buddhist philosophy, or I would say the culture all over Asia, and also presently in India, even though India has not flourished so much in the past centuries in Buddhism. In fact, it almost got forgotten. I believe there is still a lot of old roots in everyone. And the whole understanding about life, for example, that life is just transition, and it's not one life which you have to consume, finish, throw away. This underlying understanding that we're part of a natural process, I believe, is still in every one of you, and also then for the later newcomers, in people like me and other friends that have found interest in Buddhism coming from countries in Europe, America, and Australia. So it may seem natural for you to be inclined to think in terms of, if I can only be peaceful in my mind by myself and sit in the yoga posture, contemplate the breathing, let everything settle, and just be one with nature and forget about myself, my job, my duties, my kids, my partner, my car, and even my telephone. It may seem natural for you to be able to do that. But for many people that don't have these roots in the Buddhist philosophy, they think always in terms of things they want to do, they want to have, they want to get, and they want to be quick, and they want to be quicker and better in many ways. They're always somehow running. They're always trying to get somewhere, be somewhere. And I'm sure you know this as well, because it's part of the human condition altogether, to want things and to crave for things and to not be satisfied. But you also know that it is possible that some human beings, especially one particularly revered human being, the Lord Buddha, has found this peace of being settled without wanting, without getting, and without trying to be better even. He was simply being there in the present, completely peaceful. So this is a modern version of the Buddha's teachings. And I'm sure you're also aware that the Buddha's teaching has many facets. We can take it very classic and use words like tanha, like to be craving, or to have desires, passions. And we can also talk in terms of the technique of Buddhist practitioners, saying we have sati, or we practice vipassana, or we practice samadhi. We can use these terms, but we can also translate these into very simple human activities, like finding peace, being focused, being in the present moment, being free from worries about the future and remorse about the past. So many of us probably don't know how little of this kind of teaching is available in other religions, where the emphasis is also in the religion to do something, to work hard and to please the family, please the business even. This is somehow in many religions it's a very worldly aspect, but Buddhism has got this very otherworldly aspect where you can actually drop things and be simply there in the moment, present with your life as it is. Of course that sounds interesting for somebody who's living a modern life and wants to have a break, doesn't want to be stressed, and also notices how much the thinking mind actually causes us to be impatient and suffer. And I think this is very obvious that in these days people tend to do too much and do things too quickly. And if we can only teach them with very simple words about the human life, that it is better to slow down and better to be putting your heart into things and not rush them, not to be unfair, not to jump to some quick action that you would later regret. These are very basic human things that we can talk about, and actually they're directly the Buddha's teachings, as you will know. Maybe the Samaneras can translate this talk into Pali. You can find all the words for letting go, for example, letting go of stress. The word stress is very popular, or not popular. Nobody likes stress, but it's very much used. There's one very, very well-known American monk who translates dukkha as stress. And we all know, this is one way of putting dukkha, like the feeling of not being at ease, the feeling not having enough, the feeling of being under pressure, the feeling also stressed to have like mentally some issues. We cannot stand still, we cannot be peaceful, kind. As much as we want it, we cannot, because we're like on fire. And this is the word stress. I think it's a very good term. But as disciples of the Mahabodhi Society Vihara in Hyderabad, you know that the word dukkha is much more than just a simple modern word stress. If you start inquiring and looking into what the Buddha actually taught about how dukkha arises and how it ceases, I think you get the whole of the Buddhist teachings, bit by bit, discovering it by yourself, and then immediately understanding, if you inquire a little bit from what you feel, what you experience, and then use how the Buddha then phrased it into his own terms. I think we can to contemplate and to understand what is the cause of dukkha, how did it come, how come I am so stressed, and we can find out. That's the good message of the Buddha, is that actually a human being is capable of finding out what causes us suffering. So all of you are meditating, I believe, because this is also a place where the Sangha offers retreats for you to slow down and sit and simply be and try to be without dukkha. Just for a few moments maybe, or maybe a few minutes, or maybe if you're skilled you can even be without dukkha for a longer time. But just simply to ignore dukkha is also not so much helpful, because dukkha comes back. When we try to not face dukkha and just say, don't bother me, and put all our energy in closing up everything so we don't have to suffer. We can maybe do this for a short time, but dukkha comes back when we open our eyes again and we open the gate again for activities and for contact with other people or with the senses. Then dukkha comes back. So how do we actually stop dukkha or prevent dukkha from coming back? So these are very profound teachings. So I must say it's like it's almost like the whole teaching. How can we stop dukkha from coming back? It's not just shutting it down and turning off the switch for a moment, but say to uproot the causes for dukkha. That's what I believe the Buddha was emphasizing, that you look very closely and analyze what is happening and think, like a doctor thinks, what is causing suffering? What is causing me to be stressed? What is causing all the conflict? And then when you see the root of the problem, you can actually let go of that root, or like undo it, or stop the root, and then like a doctor that cures not only the symptoms but cures the root of a disease. So and the process of finding out about these things, of course we need a lot of wisdom. We need to be able to reflect, and we need to be able to look at things. And also sometimes we actually really need to look at dukkha itself. We need to see dukkha and see when it arises, see how it feels, for example. For example, when we're angry, then we need to be able to admit and be honest, I am angry, and accept, yes, there is anger. Yes, the second sentence, anger is dukkha, there is dukkha. Yes, I'm getting carried away. Yes, I'm following the craving to be angry or not angry, or be directing myself into one direction or the other. We feel this restlessness when we are triggered by things. So we need to look very closely, and we need to be able to then see what is happening. One of the teachers I stayed with in this Rains retreat, he lives in England, and I've just been spending the Rains retreat in a monastery in England, in Northumberland. And he said, you can summarize the Buddha's teaching in one word very, very nicely, very modern actually. The word is to be honest. And it doesn't just mean not to lie, but it means to really honestly assess what is happening, be realistic, and admit things, or welcome things in a positive way. To be really honest, not to be evading things, not to find what they call in Hindi, they call jugaad, yeah? Yeah, not to find like shortcuts, but be really direct and say, yes, angry, admit. But it doesn't mean that you need to be defeated by it, because whenever we realize this is happening, then we're almost ready to let it go. We're not fighting it anymore. We're not pretending anymore. We can just honestly say, this is happening, and then the air is out, basically. It doesn't seem to have much force anymore. Once we realize this is happening, we can actually very easily step back and saying, oh, I know I'm suffering. I understand I'm suffering. I honestly see I am suffering. I honestly see I'm angry. I honestly see I'm silly. You can actually admit this. And this way of watching yourself and seeing yourself And like looking at yourself, this is a very, very important quality. And this the thing that makes us feel separated from the process of becoming angry, becoming an angry person, becoming somebody who is always angry. And this quality of seeing, knowing, admitting, or being honest, or being aware about oneself, this, the Buddha, I believe, is the heart of like what he was awakening to. He was like looking at everything that is arising and ceasing. He was looking at it and not looking away, not evading it, but he saw dukkha arising and ceasing. And he had this, what we call awareness. In many ways you can understand the word Buddha already in that sense. We sometimes translate it as the one who knows. The person who is able to look at himself and understand what's going on. Who is honest about himself and sees this is happening, this is arising, this is ceasing. And he knows so well, he's so awake that he sees every little bit of things that happen and cease again. And is completely able to separate himself from the process and doesn't become identified or associated with that. He's like a bird watching from above what is happening to this mind, what is happening to this heart. Whether good or bad, he just knows. So the Buddha as the one who knows is very appealing to people these days. And to describe the Buddha not as a religious leader or the founder of a religion, but saying the Buddha is the quality of awareness, the quality of knowing, and saying the Buddha has perfected this quality and he is an example. He's not a guru that will kind of trick you into certain practices and later then demand a lot of payment for it. He's very honest, and he says you can do it as well. You can just go back to the human capacity to be able to know what is happening in every single moment. And so many people actually don't know what's happening with themselves. Like there's so much happening around us in society, in the world, even in politics, where they try to kind of improve society. There are so many times conflicting and sending out fake news and wrong messages. Like to know all this, what's right and wrong, is just so much and so confusing. So no wonder that people are stressed, and so no wonder that people are actually sometimes really getting depressed, and they just don't want to know anything anymore. They don't want to see anything anymore, and they get more and more dark and not bright, not awake, not knowing. They don't want to know anymore. So in my own country and many countries in the West, this is a very important point, is that the Buddha taught to be open and knowing what is happening. And then he also taught the methods how to do this. And this is very, very nice in this monastery, that we have meditation practice where we can just simply say we train ourselves in knowing. We train ourselves in seeing exactly what arises and ceases. When somebody asks me, for example, in my old school, I went to visit one time, and because meditation is very popular in many areas in the West, like people have meditation courses, retreats, and they even have meditation apps. Believe it or not, you can use the telephone to meditate. They have apps that make people meditate. So even young people know about meditation. So they, like I remember in school, one kid asked me, "So what do you do when you meditate?" And I was trying to be very smart, and I said, "We try to do nothing." And to do nothing is the most difficult thing in the world. Because as soon as you sit down and try to do nothing, you want to do something. You want to get up, you want to you want to eat, you want to speak, you want to move. And then things get difficult if you tell yourself, "I'm not doing anything right now, I'm just sitting still." Suddenly things start to itch, In Thailand we have many mosquitoes, and I believe in Hyderabad you also have some. So just simply doing nothing when a mosquito wants your blood is usually beyond the capabilities of a human being. It takes a Buddha to teach people, don't scratch, just understand this is natural. It itches, and you watch the itch for a while, it arises, and you know itching, you really know, and then it ceases. It won't last, it won't go forever. This sounds funny, but like also with anger, it's similarly the case. Like we don't want to be angry. Nobody wants to be angry. We all want to be kind, and we want to be loving, sharing. But like it's in ourselves that we have this like old habits of reacting, like being insulted, being righteous, being arrogant, and power on a power trip, and using force and so forth. We all have that. So sometimes when you sit down and you want to do nothing, old anger comes up, and it's not nothing. You wouldn't be angry at a mosquito or at like the sitting cushion or so. It's things that we stored up and things that we cannot let go. They come back to us. So we find skillful means of dealing with the anger. And the teacher that Venerable Buddha Palo just mentioned, who is the founder of the monastery I'm living in, Ajahn Chah, he was very skilled in giving very good daily life examples and teasing people a little bit. And one time he told a person that wanted to meditate and always got angry, a way of getting over the anger. And he just told the person, just be angry as much as you can, as long as you can, and see how long you can sustain the anger. It's just similar to the mosquito itch. Just feel the itch as long as you can, and at some point the anger will be gone. You can see that it's actually not lasting. And then you watch how you feel after the anger is over, and then you try to get back to the mind state when you were angry. Actually, you have changed already. You've let go of the anger. The problem that was a problem is solved. It wasn't there, and it's not there anymore. You cannot get back into the problem once you've solved it. So he said to the person, just be angry and watch how long can you be angry. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, just sit down and be angry as much as you can. Of course, he knew that person was keeping sila and wasn't going to hit anybody, or wasn't going to write a hate email or something like that. We're talking about people that are meditating and are already very well contained and already very disciplined. But then, you're disciplined and you don't want to experience greed, hatred, delusion, anger, and love and hate coming up. You want to be sitting there very still and not doing anything, having no thoughts. Then anger comes up. Then Ajahn Chah said, just be angry, be 100% angry. Don't get up until the anger has left. And then actually, the anger doesn't last. At some point, the anger is running out of steam. It's got no more energy. So whether that's a good practice for everyone, I don't know, but it's worth like seeing that like sometimes things actually, once we admit them and we are careful about them, we watch them, then after some time they cease. And this is a real lesson. It means like they're arising out of conditions, and conditions change. The Buddha would be able to explain this so well with all the teachings that he gave about conditioned arising, and he has got all the technical terms. So for example, you want to sit down, and at the moment you're peaceful, and then suddenly some old stuff comes up. Old stuff, he would say, is maybe memory, sanya, or vipaka kamma. You probably know all these terms. But when you talk with modern people, sometimes you cannot use these terms, so you have to use daily life terms, and you have to check a little bit, is that really true what I'm saying, or am I imagining things? But many times, if you are really honest about how you describe problems and how you solve problems, then they're actually not very far away from the Buddha's teachings. with a little bit of translation, you can bring them back to the teachings. This is really fun, and I find it actually very, very interesting to go to schools, or like particularly when it's school in Germany. I know what they think, I know how they play, and I know where they're addicted to their phones, and I know what they what they love, for example, football and things like that. So you can somehow read people without having abhinyas and reading their mind. You know the habits, you know the what kind of life people are in, and you observe it in yourself, and you observe it in other people. Then you have the Buddha's teachings in your mind, and he summarizes it so well that you can use that template, the teaching of the Buddha, as a sample and apply it to so many situations and so many questions you can answer with like the Buddha Dhamma, and be a little bit creative in finding the right words for people in this day and age. Yet I do believe it's very important to study the teachings. So it's not that everybody who just looks at life will find an answer straight away. I think the Buddha himself also, he had to work very hard to get access to asking the right questions. Many times we're not looking in the right direction, and we don't see it. So it's quite good to have somebody who has experience and is a wise person and has a very clear language to meet somebody, or meet the teachings, or meet the messages of somebody who's that clear, and use them, and then compare it with your own experience, and compare it with what you would say and what you would do. And then I think we can actually practice very well in daily life. When we really meet trouble, when we meet people that actually aren't interested in solving the problems, but they're interested in keeping running the same old crazy stories. And sometimes we are the same, sometimes other people do it more than we, but we can see the same patterns. And we use wise reflection, and we use wisdom, and we sometimes borrow the wisdom of the Buddha. We just use, for example, certain things that we have heard when we come to the monastery, how the teachers here teach and how they summarize it. And sometimes we maybe look at books and find little quotes about the Buddha's teachings. For example, the Samaneras here, they study the Dhammapada, which Most Venerable Buddharakkhita Mahathera has translated for so many people around the world. And so we study both the original teachings of the Buddha and the translation. And then we do the work in translating it into our own daily life and into our surrounding. And we have like this resource of going to the very precise teachings that the Buddha put into the Pali language, and then we study a little bit. We know the key terms. For example, one of the very important key terms which I already use is dukkha. We know what is dukkha, we know what is sukha. We know what is happening when we see life in those terms. We can use them as guiding us and asking, is this dukkha, is this sukha? How has this dukkha arisen? How is it ceasing? How long does it take? What am I doing so it ceases? And what are the causes and conditions? So having key teachings and taking them and applying them is very important. We call this practice, practicing the Dhamma. If we were only studying it in order to be world experts on Pali, then we probably wouldn't be free from suffering. Not so much, because there's so much you can study. You can study deeper, deeper, deeper. But if we take what we have studied and apply it and check it, is this one applicable to what I'm experiencing and what my friends are experiencing, what my enemies are experiencing even? Then I think we will see how the Buddha actually himself saw the practice as an application of one's own wisdom. And the Buddha is just the teacher. He's like a very precise an excellent teacher, and in fact I believe he's the best teacher one can have. But the work to understand has to come from ourselves. You cannot tell somebody else, I order you now to understand this. You cannot tell school children, I force you to understand this. The understanding has to come from the student, and the teacher can only offer these things. There's also very beautiful quality of the Buddha is that he just offers the teachings. Whether we understand it or not is our problem. The Buddha has solved the problem, and we can take him as an example, follow him, be inspired by the capacity of a human being like the Buddha to solve the problems, but we still have to do it. We can have faith in the Buddha and say, I trust this man has already explained so many things very precisely, very beautifully. I really think he knows all we need to know. Like, I really aspire to take on to learn from this person. We can say this out of the faith that we have tested a little bit of the teachings and applied it, and then make it become more rich and more fulfilling. In fact, the Buddha taught so many Dhammas. It says in the scriptures 84,000 Dhammas, so 84,000 little teachings. I don't know how many lifetimes we would have to search to find these. Like, definitely you can't find them in Google or even in ChatGPT. If you were to say, can you find me 84,000 can you name me 84,000 Dhammas on the spot? I think they would just kind of collapse. It's the integration of the whole essence of the teachings and then bringing it back to all the facets of everybody's life. And this is our practice. And we know the key teachings. For example, we know the teachings about dukkha, the Four Noble Truths. And we memorize them, we keep them in mind, we see them in how they work. We try to realize how does the Four Noble Truths actually work in our life. How can we see them? Or we take another teaching that we find maybe easier. Sometimes, like, modern people also think in terms of philosophy, and they don't want to have it so personal. They don't want to see it as like, okay, you are suffering. They feel a bit intimidated. Then we talk about the laws of nature. We can find how the Buddha described the nature of everything in life. Anicca, not permanent. Dukkhang, same thing. And anatta. And then we work with these three terms and try to see everything we do under these three characteristics. And for example, if I experience anger, and I think I'm an angry person, actually, the anger falls away after some time. It's anicca. It's conditioned. It just comes and goes. And if I'm so wise to see that, it's a natural process. If I'm triggered, I get angry. Then basically I don't get upset. I don't get more upset or more angry. I don't hate myself because I'm angry. I just be careful with it, and I look at it, and then it fades. I don't react to it, but I look at it, and then I see, this is what the Buddha called anicca. It's not permanent. There's nothing actually that is anicca, that is niccang, that is permanent. We can also look at the positive sides, which is difficult for people to do, like looking at something that you really like. For example, in Wat Banana Chat, when it's hot in the summer, sometimes the dayakas, they offer ice cream, and everybody is excited. But then the abbot gives a long speech before the meal, and then because it's so nice that the lay people have offered ice cream, he gives an extra long blessing. We have blessings chants that can go for 5 minutes or so. So the monks are sitting in front of their ice cream on a hot day, and then the Ajahn turns around and says, "It's anicca." The ice cream is gone. It's dissolved. So you can also practice with positive things, like things that you like. You can also see anicca in that. But it takes like wisdom, like it takes a smart person to find out, okay, how can I spot this? Particularly if there are things that we like. And this is also something that we have to be very honest about. Sometimes we get carried away with things we like. We're biased and we're unfair because we're basically protecting things that we like, and we dismiss the things that we don't like. So for example, like things about sickness and health problems, everybody is easily to name and say, I don't like this, and I'm angry about it, I resent it. Whereas like things that are subtly like getting us feeling in a comfortable space, and we get used to it, we get complacent, we get like into the habit of using things, we get into convenience, we like it, we may not see, but it also has a very bad effect on us. We get spoiled because basically we're taking things to gratify our desires, and we're not able to live without things. And this is happening with many modern conveniences. So to look also at the things that we like is one of the key teachings of the Buddha, because the Buddha said also the things that you like are anicca. And he even went further, he said the things that you like are also dukkha. So this is very, very, very difficult for people in modern society to understand, and also in other religions, because many religions talk about rewards. You get rewards for good things. That's the Buddha also said, you get rewards for good actions, and you get punishments, or like you get like the negative effects of bad actions. But the Buddha taught more than that. He said even good things eventually will cease. This is very important. For example, I come from a background of Christianity, and the aim of a religion like Christianity is to practice so that you can go to a very likable place. After death, you are invited to go in this 5-star mansion up in the sky called heaven. Yeah, you're invited because you did so much good things, and then the religion stops there. It says that that's your reward. You've been good, and you go to heaven. But the Buddha took it further. He said, careful. Also, the good things are anicca. This is shocking for some people, and also shocking for many other religions, that actually we don't believe that there's anywhere where we can have a pleasant life forever. There's no 5-star hotel that's always open and free. There's no ice cream that lasts forever. So even the good things, even people that we love or so, we sometimes get separated. And this is again, like this goes back to the core of every religion. We have to deal with old age, sickness, and death. We have to deal with being separated from people that we like, that we love, that we care for, even the most intimate friends or our daughters and sons. Sometimes daughters and sons die before the parents. Sometimes the parents die first, sometimes the children die first. And no love on earth can prevent that. And this is something very important that the Buddha was also very honest about. He said, look, you're fooling yourself if you say there is something like eternal love. I'm not disparaging anybody. It's a trap we fall into easily, and taking the things that we really want and are passionate about as for granted. But the Buddha was realistic. It was like a scientist. There's no nonsense there. Okay, he says, good things cease, good things arise, good things cease. Bad things arise, bad things cease. Intermediately, yes, we can improve our situation. It's good to be in a peaceful place where there's no war. It's good to be in an economically well-supported place. We can say, sadhu, it's good. Sadhu means it's good. We can say, congratulations, I've reached a level where I can breathe. I've reached a level where I don't have to struggle. I've reached a level where I can walk and I can be free. We're free human beings, we're healthy, we're able to come here, for example. This is a great blessing. But then, not to be complacent and take it for granted. The Buddha then said, be careful, aniccang. It may stop. And we all know the story of the Bodhisattva when the Buddha himself was not yet enlightened, when he was living a comfortable life, was living in luxury. And the story, you know, is also in the pictures around the Chetya here, when the Buddha, the Bodhisattva left the palace just to have a glimpse on real life and honestly wanting to know what's happening outside his luxury life, basically. And he saw the old person, the dead person, and the sick person, and he saw, luckily, he saw the samana at the end. He saw somebody who's searching for something that is beyond old age and sickness and death. But he had to make a special effort to see this, and this is like a symbol for us as well. If we just believe everything is convenient all the time, we're fooling ourselves, and at some point we'll suffer even more because we're not prepared. We haven't really looked at how things arise and cease, and we're shocked then. So this is also in many ways the teachings of so many religions, that they say, don't forget that one day you will die, and don't forget that you will get sick. And what the Buddha then offered is a teaching then to really realistically look at what is beyond death, what is happening if we are not a slave to liking and disliking, to love and hate, but what happens if we are somebody who sees things arise and cease naturally and is able to not feel stressed about things, not feel that this is unbearable or difficult. What do we do in order to get to a state of being neutral and free from being in this roller coaster of good and bad, love and hate, peace, and unfortunately war these days? It's just so sad to see that. But how can we live in a world that is war-torn and that's carried away by love and hate without being like this, with being free from this? And this is what we practice when we meditate. It's like to be able to put ourselves in a different state of mind where we're not affected by these things, where we can simply watch it and let it be. And the Buddha described this state, maybe sometimes it comes up temporarily as a very, very good experience for meditators, that you feel peaceful. And you feel peaceful from happy things and peaceful from sad things. Even overwhelming feelings of joy and love and so forth, we feel cool. The Buddha said, actually, when you are watching these things arise and cease, you feel cooled. This is one of the very important words. It's like there's no heat anymore. There's no fires of greed, hatred, delusion anymore. There's no thing that is urging us. There's no passion or there's no aversion. And sometimes, maybe when you have a very aware moment in your meditation, you get a little bit of a feeling of this coolness. For example, you're sitting and telling yourself, I want to be still, I don't want to do anything, I just sit still. And soon, okay, it's not only the mosquito that bites you, you can already deal with that, but there's more challenges. Soon your knees start to ache, your back starts to ache, and it literally feels like the whole body is on fire. But if you are able to put yourself into an observer position and see it like the one who knows this is happening, knows my body is aching, it's like on fire, then suddenly you're independent of it. It almost feels cool. So if you can have glimpses of that awareness that is beyond the things that we like, love and hate, then it's already a real important ingredient of the Buddha's teachings, because the Buddha also said, okay, there's always suffering, but there's also the ending of suffering. And the ending of suffering in this very aware state is one where one feels independent of the arising and ceasing. It simply happens and one isn't involved. There's not a force that's pushing one They are it's more or less like I like the image of a bird's eye perspective. You see the things from above. You see, for example, if you've been flying in an airplane, you see like all the houses and the people and the cars. It looks like toy. It looks like a movie. It looks like not real. And you're independent. You're not part of the traffic anymore. You're flying above it, and it's just really fun. Like if we can imagine, like we can see things that are happening with ourselves in that detached mode, where we're not identifying and not thinking, "This is me. I'm terrible. I'm hopeless. I'm aching. I'm on fire." But we've abandoned this. Then the Buddha says this is actually what he calls the cooling of like wanting to be, wanting to have, wanting to experience. And this is like, you probably know because you've studied the Buddha's teaching, one of the translations of the very beautiful word that the Buddha summarized his ultimate experience with is the word of Nibbana. The Buddha said the Nibbana is like the cooling, and like the fire has gone out, and it's very, very beautiful. We can only imagine how it is like, but it's fair enough to start imagining a little bit. Suppose I was very cool rather than passionate, angry, or kind of like scattered or so. Suppose we were very patient, very much at peace, settled in ourselves. Would the world be a problem anymore? Would there be a problem with my neighbors? Would there be a problem with other people? Would there be a problem even in the relationship to people that you love? If one was really cool and had this detachment, like the Buddha did, I think we all know that bit by bit we could just unfold into a state of being like above the problems of the world. So this is like what the Buddha says, is like our ultimate goal is not to get a very good condition, like being in a 5-star mansion in a vimana, like up there in the heavenly abodes or so, not to get like good rebirth or so, but basically to be so detached from everything that we experience in a peaceful way, that at the end of the life, that when we have Yamapala knock on the door and say you have cancer, so that we don't lose our temper and we don't start crying, but we can just basically be at peace with it, and then we can die in a peaceful way. This is very high aim, and of course we have to train this bit by bit. So I'm not saying that we can do this easily, and I'm also practicing in order to gradually build up the causes and conditions to be able to face such big problems with equanimity or with a cool mind, like everybody else. We're not trying to say this is so easy, and it's just you have to do it and it'll come straight away. It's a long process of observing and learning and watching yourself and being honest with yourself. Sometimes when I go to Germany to the school class, for example, the people don't care about religion generally, but for some reason they find Buddhism is a good thing. It's got many popular movie stars and scientists and so forth that are backing up that Buddhism is a modern religion, and it's actually really true, and it's not somebody trying to fool you into something. So even in young school classes, Buddhism is the one exception that they actually find interesting. Other religions, sometimes they feel like, we've heard this so much and we don't believe it really. But with Buddhism and meditation, there is like somehow interest. And yet people sometimes don't understand how complicated it is actually. Like, it's not like something that you can just book a course in Buddhism and then be enlightened and find Nibbana. It's not something that you can buy, or you can do a 10-day Nibbana course. And so many people come to the international monastery that I'm in, and they come and think, okay, I'll become a monk. In 2-3 years I'll be enlightened, and then I can teach the world. It's not like that. It's a very, very difficult process because it's so subtle. The mind is so so detailed, and there's so many little things that we observe. Once we are starting to get more aware of the problems, we can look into it much deeper even, and then we actually realize, wow, it's maybe a long path, but we're on the right path. We're actually the principle of looking at dukkha, looking at causes and conditions, will always be the right method to look at what's happening in my life. So when sometimes young people in countries like Germany, they live in a very worldly way. They have lots of friends. They go out for parties. They have a lot of fun, and they like the tech gadgets and so forth. They're online a lot, and the world is okay for them. And then they say, I don't have any. I think nothing happens when people die. Basically, they just disappear. It's just like the very materialistic way of looking at life. Death, okay, switch off, game over. It's and I usually say then that would be a big sadhu. If you just die and nothing happens anymore. You say, sadhu, you're like the Buddha when he went into Nibbana, when there was no more problems and there was no knock-on effect, there was no unsolved issues anymore. I wonder whether you're there. If I ask people, then do you have any fear about what would happen if somebody told you you had a very, very difficult disease, for example, like Stephen Hawking, the physicist who was in a wheelchair and couldn't communicate anymore. Most people would lose their mind, and of course they would die in a state of anxiety and a state of fear, maybe like in a horror movie, like this, like when people watch these very violent things. It's not so easy to say at death will just finish, because there's so much energy. If a human being has to leave his body or her body behind, it's not just simply over. Usually we hold on to it, or there's an issue. We want to see our loved one more time. We want to have one last cigarette. Maybe that was maybe in the 70s, but I don't know, one last e-vape or so. Last TikTok, yeah? Want to be able to put my death on social media and watch it and see the comments. So it's not that easy. When people say, I think after life there's nothing, I say, sadhu, you're like the Buddha. If you can end all problems, then I would say, great, you're the man, you're the woman, you're the heroess, you're the hero. But usually what happens, people panic, and people are, they do everything. I mean, they do everything to prolong their life, and they do everything to enjoy life as long as they have. So it's a bit like a delusion to say the modern way of thinking life is just one life and it's over, finished. The Buddha said more or less look, what you sow is what you reap. If you have some unfinished business and there's a deadline, which means Yamapala is knocking on your door saying it's time to go, then unfinished business will carry on. Any energy that you still have, whether it's love, whether it's hate, it will continue. And that's very, very scientific as well. I believe that it's very, very, very honest to the principle, okay, nothing suddenly spontaneously arises, nothing suddenly spontaneously ceases. It all happens with causes and conditions. As long as there are causes and conditions, it will continue. So it's not so easy to just finish one's life, and it with a real peace, and maybe with a fake peace that you can delude yourself. Maybe it sounds easy, but what people then experience maybe is quite the opposite, and agony. And I really pity people that are so simple and assume that life is just finished and that's it, because we hear so many things about how human beings actually are attached to the conditions that they live in, how they identify with the life they had, even with the name or with their class or with their say status or so. People identify, and it leaves a track And the Buddha basically said, like, this doesn't just simply stop. And if it just simply stopped for everybody's life, that would be so easy. Then it could also just simply stop during one's life. Say you feel angry and just switch off the anger, bing, off, and then finished. But it's not like that. The momentum of the energy carries. And you know much about karma. This is what the Buddha said. The law of karma is basically it keeps going. You put in something and you get the result of that. You put in another thing, you get another result, and it doesn't just stop. And I believe you have a good understanding of this because you're not like born in a country like Germany or America where they just don't have the teachings about the law of karma. We see like this conservation of like energy, like things that you invest into something, you get the results, and whether for good or for bad. So to be really cooled and to be able to watch this process and to make the jump to the bird's eye perspective is a different quality than just simply to wait for a process to end. It is like it is really the understanding of how to detach one's feeling about who one is and what one wishes, what one wants, with the causes and conditions that are happening in this life. And this is what we practice when we meditate. We try to put ourselves in a state of mind where we can be not identified with the things that are happening, whether it's itching, whether it's love, or whether it's duties, or whether it's pain, or whether it's like simple anger or so. We just put ourselves in a different dimension, and gradually we find out what this dimension actually, how we can find it, how we can access it. And we trust that the Buddha, being the awakened one, had this dimension and had this perspective, and he was beyond the planet with all the moving cars and the traffic. It's like in the airplane or the spaceship watching from above, and he saw all the human beings and the animals and even other beings that we don't see. He saw them moving around like in a movie, but he was watching it. He wasn't affected by it. So this is a roundabout tour about what I found is interesting and accessible in the Buddha's teachings, and how to translate this into something that is useful and meaningful for all of you, including the monks and including myself and the novices and the lay people that are practicing here, how to translate it and make it applicable to your life situation can only be done by yourself. And the Buddha has entered Parinibbana 2,666 years already, and he's not available anymore, but the followers of the Buddha in this country, in this Jambudipa, in this India, they have kept it and they have recorded it. And when now the Samaneras are memorizing the Pali language and the suttas and the structure of the language, then they're doing us a great favor, because they are keeping the technique of the Buddha, how to access all these very deep truths available for us. And this is what the practice is about, making these teachings come to be alive and applicable in every condition that we face. And we need a lot of experience with it, and we need a lot of little sharp moments of mindfulness and awareness, and that's why we practice meditation. And when we meditate, we sharpen our wisdom and understand what has actually happened. So this is my offering of a Dhamma talk for tonight. I want to conclude this and dedicate the merit to all the people practicing here, and including the Sangha. May we all grow in the Buddha's teachings, and may the Sasana in India be full of vigor and prosper, and through monasteries like this. So this is my Dhamma talk. Evam.
Thank you, Bandeji, for your Dhamma offering. So I hope all of you have understood and got some inspiration, encouragement from what Bhante spoke today evening, and I hope you will carry it out in your life, in your day-to-day life. Because as Bhante said, that Dhamma is about practice, about day-to-day life, to look into our day-to-day life, our day-to-day experiences. So Bhante has been practicing as a Buddhist monk for the past 25, more than 25, 27 years. And so it is coming from Bhante's deep practice in the forest tradition in Thailand. Some of you may be aware. So it's a very it's coming from the deep experiences and practice. So that's the thing that Bhante spoke to all of us. So now we have some dana offering, chivara offering program. I hand over to Chetan to conduct it, to sort of help it.
Dear Upasakas and Upasikas, now I will call the names of the people who are offering Attaparikara Dana. Please raise in your seats, from your seats. Our people will come and give you the Attaparikara. Post that we will be chanting a mantra. Post that we will offer it to the Venerable monks. Followed by that will be Chivara offering. Okay? So kindly pay attention to the names. First Attaparikara Dana is being offered by Kalpana Amma and family. Amma, can you please raise?
Samne bolano.
And Upasaka Saideep, can you please raise in your... can you please come forward towards the main shrine? Upasaka I Sudhakar and Sujata Amma, can you please raise and come towards the main shrine? Upasaka Nithin, can you please come and hand over the Attaparikara Dana? While the offering is going on, the other Upasakas and Upasikas, please pay utmost attention, and you can also, mentally be involved in this. Okay? Now they will be offering the Attaparikara Dana. Those who can kneel down, otherwise you can stand.
बोलना है क्या? मालूम है तेरे को? बोलो.
Now they are offering Attaparikara Dana. Mayang Bhante Sango Idang Me Attaparikara Danena Anagate Ehe Bhikkhu Bhavaya Pachayo Hotu Dutiyampi Mayang Bhante Sango Idang Me Attaparikkara Danena Anagate Ehi Bhikkhu Bhavaya Pachayo Hotu Tatiyampi Mayang Bhante Sangho Idang Me Attaparikkara Danena Anagate Ehi Bhikkhu Bhavaya Pachayo Hotu. Can you please come forward and one by one offer it to Ajahn? Repeat, all of you say sadhu, 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 sadhu. Say sadhu, 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 sadhu. Sadhu, 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 sadhu. Now I will be calling Upasakas and Upasikas who are offering Jivaradana, right? Please raise at your place and come forward. Upasika Kalpana Amma and family. Upasika Archana Amma, she's from Bidar, is she here? Upasika Archana Amma. Upasika M. Bhagya Amma. Is Bhagya Amma here? And lastly, Upasaka Bharat from Bangalore. Upasaka Vipassi can offer the Chivara on his behalf. You can offer one Chivara on behalf of Upasaka Bharat from Bangalore. Bilu, you can give one Chivara to the Bhagyama.
Okay, ठीक बोलो बोलो ठीक है
Okay. Yeah, again, ऐसा नीचे में थोड़ा सामने आ जाओ. Yeah. Listen. Mayang Bhante. Yeah, everybody can repeat. Mayang Bhante.
Mayang Bhante.
Imam.
Imam.
Chivaram.
Chivaram.
Sanghasa.
Sanghasa.
Danam Dema.
Danam Dema.
Pujema.
Pujema.
Dutiyampi.
Dutiyampi.
Mayang Bhante.
Mayang Bhante.
Idang me.
Idang me.
Chivaram.
Chivaram.
Sanghasa.
Sanghasa.
Danam Dema.
Danam
Pujema.
Pujema.
Tatiyampi.
Tatiyampi.
Idang me.
Idang me.
Chivaram.
Chivaram.
Sanghasa.
Sanghasa.
Danam Dema.
Danam Dema.
Pujema.
Pujema.
Idang me Danam.
Idang me
Idang
Danam.
me Shilam.
Idang me Shilam.
Nibbanasa.
Bhanasa.
Pachayo.
Pachayo.
Hotu.
Hotu.
Sabba Dukha.
Sabba Dukha.
Pamuchaso.
Pamuchasu.
Sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Now one by one can offer it to Venerable Ajahn. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
अभी आप कंक्लूडिंग आप कुछ बोलिए
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
मैं बोलता हूँ आपको to give the vote of thanks मुझे आपको
Sadhu,
I
sadhu,
request Venerable
sadhu.
Secretary Mahabodhi Society थोड़ा बोल दीजिए ना बनते हुए थोड़ा सा इसका मतलब क्या है ओके कौन हम बोलना है एक आदमी बोल सकते हैं
नमो तस्सा भगवतु अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्सा यज्ञे भन्ते संगो जानातु अयम पट्ठमो भागो महाथेरस्सा पापुनाति अवशेष भागा महाकंचैव पापुनन्ति भिक्षुनञ्च शीलाधराणां सामान्यराणां घट्टानां ते यथा सुखं परिमुञ्जन्तु यज्ञ भन्ते संगो जानातु अयम पठमा भागो महाथेरस्सा पापुनाति अवशेष भाग महाकंचैव पापुनन्ति भिक्षुनञ्च शीलधाराणां सामान्यराणां घट्टानां तेन यथा सुखं परिभुञ्जन्तु यज्ञे भन्ते संगो जानातु अयम पठमा भागो महाथेरस्सा पापुनाति अवशेष भाग महाकंच एवं पापुनन्ति भिक्षुनञ्च शीलधाराणां सामान्यराणां घट्टानां ते यथा सुखं परिभुञ्जन्ति साधु साधु साधु. So many merit to all of you. Now I request Sugatananda Bhante. As you know, Bhante was here for 1 year. He was the abbot of this Vihara. Now he is the secretary of Mahabodhi Society, Bangalore and its branches. And I request Bhante to give a word of thanks today.
Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dhammaya, Namo Sanghaya. So we are fortunate that Most Venerable Ajahn Kevali Bhanteji has come here and he has given time to all the monks and novices as well as for the laity and given the discourse, given the gift of Dhamma for all of you to reflect how to reflect the Dhamma on your day-to-day life, how to see the Dhamma as the Supreme Buddha has taught all these Four Noble Truths, how to see it practically in your day-to-day life. And if you take it in your heart and cultivate it, it will surely help you to understand these Four Noble Truths deeply, and you will surely be able to walk up to liberation with a joyful mind. So we are grateful to Most Venerable Ajahn Kevali Bhanteji for your time and blessings, metta and all kindness, and we are very, very grateful for everything. And then also Venerable Buddhapala Thera, the abbot of this Vihara, for organizing everything, and also Pasaka Chetan and his team, and also all the lay devotees here, all the Upasakas and Upasikas coming on a weekday evening and listening to the Dhamma, putting your mind to it, putting forth the effort. This itself is a sign that you are striving on the right path. Yes, of course, we all know that it's not something that everything happens overnight, but this effort, all these efforts also on your part is surely worthy of praise. So we thank one and all for on this wonderful Dhamma program that comes to an end now, and we wish that by the blessings of, may the blessings of Triple Gem be with you all, and may all of us be able to practice Dhamma and see Dhamma, see the noble truths, see the true Dhamma, Satya Dhamma in our own hearts, and realize the liberation, realize the Nibbana, and be free from all suffering. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
So Ajahn is from here tomorrow leaving for Bangalore, and after that Bhante is flying to Chandigarh where Bhante, there is one Vihara, like a forest Vihara, being conceived and being in the process to come up. So Bhante will have a branch in India, okay, Ajahn Chah tradition branch in India, and it will be wonderful for Indian people to regularly visit Aranya Vihara. It is called Aranya Trust. So that's wonderful. And Bhante came along with Ajahn Jyoti Dhammo. Bhante is basically from Kerala. Okay. So, but Bhante stays in Thailand with under Bhante in the international because Bhante is the abbot of the Vihara where English-speaking Vihara, na? Because Thailand everybody speaks Thai. So for the English-speaking community, Bhante has that Vihara which was started by Ajahn Chah himself. So like Ajahn Sumedo was there and many other Ajahns there. So that's a beautiful Vihara, and it's called what? Nana Chat. Nana means like in Hindi we say, no, Nana Prakar, different, you know. Chat means Jat, you know, so different community basically means. So the monastery name itself is different community, so it's an international community where they get Dharma and practice. Okay, so it's a nice information. So we hope to see the Vihara in India soon one day. Yeah. Oh, yes. So nice. So some of you are practitioner of Vipassana. So those group, they are Vipassana practitioners, Acharya Goenkaji tradition. So they are only coming forward to have a center Vihara in India. Okay, so I think with this we conclude. We thank all of you for coming and listening this evening. As Bhante mentioned, on a working day, you have made up time to come here to listen to Dhamma. So we really appreciate that. We're really happy to see. I was telling Ajahn that today we may not have much people because it's a working day, but we do have a lot of people, a lot of sadha who have come. So I request Ajahn to do a blessing and we conclude here.
And again, big Anumodana, just like Venerable Bhante Buddhapala and Venerable Bhante Sugatananda has said, it's very nice that you all made time tonight. I'd like to give you a normal, just usual way of, in the Thai style, the blessing we give at the end of a Dhamma talk. And may you all prosper in the Dhamma and keep the Dhamma in your hearts.
You want to raise?
Maybe receive the
ले लो ऐसे ले लो फोटो ले लो
Sadhu, 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 sadhu.
अच्छे
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
practice that vipassana regularly. I think here.
Yatha varivaha pura paripurenti sakalang evam eva ito tinang petanang upakapati ichitang patitang tumhang kippameva samichato sape purentu sankhapa chanto panaraso yatha manicho tiraso yatha sapitiyo vivachanto Sabbarogo vinasato mate bhavatu antarayo sukhe dekhayo ko bhava abhivadana sile sanichang buddha pachayino chattaro dhamma vadhanti no sukhang balang ayo balato thiro vanato patipanato sukhasadata medhavi sukham so adhikachati ayung dattva balang vanang sukham cha patipanato Dikhayu yasava hoti yatayatu papachatiti Bhavatu sabba mangalam rakhantu sabba devata Sabba buddhanubhavena sada sothi bhavantu te Bhavatu sabba mangalam rakhantu sabba devata sabba dhammanubhavena sada sothi bhavantu te Bhavatu sabba mangalam rakhantu sabba devata sabba sankhanubhavena sada sothi bhavantu te sadhu sadhu sadhu.
So we conclude here. Please have some refreshment outside. You can have that, and then you can go to your home, or you want to stay back, you can. Thank you. So.
Some of them maybe like to come.
Yes, yeah. Okay, stay around.
If you are not tired,
No, okay.